Okay, so Eden Zero is back, and this chapter basically confirmed that Elsie's crew was killed not because of the true enemy or anything like that. It was, in fact, just the result of war and just how war goes. At the same time, it does kind of imply the true enemy kind of is a result of all the suffering that happened up to this point to Elsie. We'll get to that at the end. We'll start with the chapter starts off with, which is going back in time to back when Elsie was still handcuffed. So apparently Justice sends Jesse to monitor Elsie while she's handcuffed, and he's still a piece of shit like always. He starts kicking her over and over again, saying that he wishes to see her whimpering and weak and just suffering completely. He doesn't he'd like to kill her, but more than that, he would like her to suffer. And he basically tells her that once he's done torturing her himself, he's then going to hand her over to the government, who then is, of course, going to torture her for information. He's doing it for fun, while the government's going to torture her for information. So she's going to get twice the torture for no damn reason. And obviously, Elsie's not going to spill the beans on her family, where her wealth is at, for her crew, so they can, live without her, or her connection to the Eden Zero, any of that. And Jesse knows this, which is why he says he's going to enjoy the fact that she's just going to be endlessly tortured. Elsie is still trying to protect him, telling him that he needs to run away because there's dragons everywhere, obviously. And it's funny because this is basically the same thing that happened to her when she knew that he was a traitor, and she basically offered him to actually become a pirate. Of course, he rejected then, and he also is kind of mocking the idea that she's even worried about him now. She, of course, ignores all of his mockery, his comments and everything, and just asks to be released because Justice saved her, and she wants to return the favor. He's, once again, is like, that's ridiculous. He didn't save you. He just wants to watch you suffer like I do, and we are going to take great joy in your suffering. And Elsie's like, what did I ever do to you? I treated you like family. And so that's when Jesse reveals that he actually has a decent reason to hate Elsie with all his heart, and that's the fact that his family, his parents, lived on Leonard when Elsie caused a civil war and basically caused the absolute genocide of her people. His parents were the ones who also died. Elsie, of course, has no way of responding to this in any way, shape, or form. Obviously, she still feels guilty about the slaughter of her people. Jesse doesn't seem to care about her regrets at all, because he's basically about to do something that is really going to break her. Yeah, so there's a tracker apparently on Elsie's body. It can't be on her clothes, it has to be under her skin at that point, because basically down to nothing but a bra and panties, or the remnants of her clothing that are covering only those two parts of her body. And, Gon and Haga, of course, are able to track her down and come into her warehouse where she's being held. They open the door, and right as they open the door, Elsie tries to warn them it's a trap, but there's basically a laser thing that was set up as a trap, and it just decapitates Gon before he even realizes what happens. Haga barely stops himself from being decapitated, but it doesn't matter because Jesse pops up behind him and shoots Haga in the back of the head. But as Haga is dying, the last thing he's able to do, he actually does two things. He uses his ice ether gear to impale Jesse straight through, killing him, and also freezing Elsie's handcuffs so they can shatter. Now that she's free, she walks over to them. They're all dead. And she actually calls out to all three of their names, like even Jesse. So she still cares about Jesse. It's crazy, but then she starts to think about just how much death and suffering has happened in her life and just how many people she considers her family are now gone. Ziggy, Witch, Valkyrie, gone. Haga. She even thinks of her mother and father, just all dead. And she begins to think that she's like cursed, and she's just destined to be surrounded by death and suffering. Jesse was right. She is starting to break down. He did succeed at that. She just can't handle all these deaths, feeling that she's responsible for all of them. Yeah, so things start to go from bad to worse. As soon as I saw this happen, I knew this was going to be bad. We pop over to Team A, where Homaru decides to call into Rebecca and tell her that she's not coming. They're surrounded by dragons, she's being attacked by dragons, and there's no way she's going to be able to get to them without leading the dragons to them. So she decided to go off on her own, and she heads over to fight Agnolia. That's where James finally catches up, smashing through all the dragons he can, but he finally is able to get to Agnolia himself, and he's ready to take her on one-on-one, but obviously Homaru pops up and says, "Hey, you're James, I know you, let's work together to defeat Agnolia." Yeah, so as soon as that happened, I knew this would be bad because James immediately remembered something that I knew was going to happen, which is that Jesse told him that Homaru seduced and killed Creed, which obviously is a complete lie. Jesse's the one who killed Creed, but like the distress that's on Justice's face right now is extremely intense, and I can't tell if he's going to focus on his mission to defeat Agnolia, or is he going to try to kill Homaru. It's hard to tell at this moment, but all I know is that this is going to end badly. You know how I know? Because straight up Rebecca even says, I have a bad feeling about this. Yeah, I'm 100% with her on that. Everything is about to go to a giant clusterfuck of bad. Okay, so we pop back over to Hermit, where we finally get a somewhat clue on what she figured out. So she busts into the medical room and demands that Sister give her Elsie's medical information from 18 years ago. Okay, so this is basically my theory about what happened. Most likely, Elsie was infected by whoever this true enemy was when she was a child, which then led her to make the decision she made, which eventually led to the death of her people. When she was then found wandering the galaxy, the cosmos, by Ziggy's crew, whatever infected her decided to then jump from her to Ziggy, deciding that Ziggy was a much more valuable target. The reason why I'm saying it's like an effective parasite that goes from host to host is because there's no way in hell Elsie's the true enemy. She's clearly not regretting everything that is all the awful stuff that's happened around her. There's no way she has this massive plan to do whatever the fuck she's doing. Trying to get to Mother, apparently, because that was the goal of Dark Z. So yeah, I think it's someone with a parasitic ability that allows them to go from host to host. The question is, the person who is the true enemy is still on this planet, like Z said. So while they're able to infect people, they still have to be a individual who does the infecting. So that person has to be here on the planet still. Once again, I don't know who it is. Apparently Herman has some clue, and either we're going to figure it out next chapter or 10 chapters down the line. But whatever's happening, everything is about to turn into a giant clusterfuck now that Homeru and Justice have met. I am assuming there's going to be a lot more death, a lot more suffering and death going forward. This chapter is basically the starting point of everything going down, like this arc falling apart. Basically, it's not the climax of the story, but the part where everything goes dark, everything goes wrong, and we got nothing but suffering and pain for the next, 24 chapters. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the matter. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, give a thumbs up, so you can enjoy more Eden Zero and other anime things. Thank you, and have a great day.